Ooh.
We're there.
Hey, all right.
Pretty sure I got your belch on there. Sorry.
Oh, perfect. That's okay, man. That's the perfect way to introduce our new Power Metal podcast or Power Metal show. So, hey, guys, look, hopefully you've seen on some of our other stuff here in the past, back in our archives. We decided we're going to try something a little bit different here. This is what we like to call Three Guys in a Mic presents half-hour power, where basically it's just going to be me and Dave talking about power metal.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you followed along with us and you've been through some versions of our Headbangers Metalheads journey. Excuse me, our Metalheads journey. And right now we're doing the top 50 metal albums of all time. And one of the albums was Blind Guardian's Midnight. Was it Midnight in Middle Earth? Nightfall in Middle Earth.
Nightfall in Middle Earth.
Nightfall in Middle Earth, excuse me. And, that really kind of got me and Dave going down this rabbit hole of power metal. And if you remember, the way we crafted, and Dave could probably speak to this better, but we did craft our own top 50 metal albums. Well, we did the same thing here, but now with power metal albums.
Yeah.
Because as we've discovered, power metal is tasty as fuck.
Yeah, so, I won't go into the grand scheme of things. This is trying to be a half-hour power, and we tend to run long. So, long story short, I pulled from several different heavy metal websites to get what those sites consider to be the best power metal albums of all time. Threw those all into an Excel spreadsheet. Crunched some numbers, threw some formulas in there. Nerded out a bit. And created what originally was going to be 25. It ended up being 30 just because can't help ourselves.
More is better.
Yeah, so we are going to run through the top 30 power metal albums of all time. And look, I would say, and I don't know if I think you probably agree, Josh, more so than our top 50 heavy metal albums of all time list, there are more albums on this list that I've never heard than the other list. Like this is going to be a much more there's much more new music for me, and that starts with this first album that we're reviewing today.
Yeah, because the first album that we're reviewing, it's a band called Angra, and it's an album called Holy Land, and I think it's a good start. It's a good start for us on the list here, but. Before we get too deep into the album, I just wanted to talk about power metal in general for a second, because, I've liked power metal for a long time, and I think I tried to drag you down this rabbit hole like 10, 15 years ago with bands like Dream Evil, and there's another band that'll pop up on this list later called Ed Guy.
Yeah, so small spoilers, around me, because I'm just bored doing this type of stuff, and look, it ultimately probably looks like garbage, but all the bands that you see around us here are spoiler. These are the bands that made the top 30. So quite a few of these bands are on here multiple times, as you can guess, because there's not 30 bands up here. So but yeah, I mean, Josh, I will say I've never really been overtly into power metal. But I've been into progressive metal for a very long time, with bands like Dream Theater and things like that. So and I feel like power metal is kind of where my world of progressive metal and your world kind of collide. Because I would say even in this first record, there are definitely some progressive metal elements to it. I mean, they have a 10-minute long song, right?
Yeah, and there's some incredibly technical moments. I mean, there's a moment, I think, in Carolina that reminds me of an Avenged Sevenfold song from a guitar solo standpoint.
Yeah.
And, I mean, dude, it's dynamic.
Yeah, so, power metal really, for me, just kind of combines the technicality of progressive metal with more of the with kind of a lot of the I don't want to say like basic, but they cut out a lot of
more straightforward.
Yeah, they cut out a lot of the unnecessary things, or you know, the like overtly, you know, the wankery of progressive metal, and they kind of just get right to it. But dude, I'm really excited to go through this list. I agree with you, Angra. This album was a very good start. And man, I know we're going to talk about it a lot during this journey, but dude, does power metal, like, did they just not do bad production?
No, I don't think so. I've never heard a badly produced power metal album. I was looking in like the definition, because when we looked up the definition of like death metal, one of the things they brought up specifically was it's supposed to have bad production. You're supposed to struggle to get through it.
For black metal?
And black metal, excuse me. And this is just candy for my ears, man.
Yeah.
So, looking at just kind of a quick definition for power metal on here, or just not a definition, but just a thought. Anyway, it says power metal is characterized by a faster, lighter, and more uplifting sound, in contrast with the heaviness and dissonance prevalent in extreme metal. Power metal bands usually have anthem-like songs with fantasy-based subject matter and strong choruses, thus creating a theatrical, dramatic, and emotionally powerful sound.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's just like, it's weird because I never really considered myself a huge power metal fan, but, you know, like I said, going through this Angra record, and then just kind of, you know, after I put this list together, I just kind of shuffled it a little bit just to kind of like hear a few of the songs on it. And dude, it's like, it's like, I don't know if I've heard like a truly bad song off of this list yet. And I think we talked about it yesterday, but I think that that this list might be better than our top 50 heavy metal albums of all time list.
It certainly might end up being more enjoyable because we're not going to have things like Emperor or Venom, you know? So all right. Let's get right into the album here. Yeah. So real quick here, let me give you some stats. All right, so like we talked about here, this is the band Angra. The album is called Holy Land. So Angra is a Brazilian power metal band formed in 1991. They've released 9 studio albums, including their latest album, Omni, which was released in 2018. Current members include Rafael Bittencourt, Felipe Andrioli, Fabio Leone, Bruno Valverde, and Marcelo Barbosa. They've sold upwards of 5 million records worldwide.
I mean,
Holy Land was their...
That's a pretty big deal. Like 5 million worldwide is not bad at all.
Yeah, it was hard to find that exact number. I had to kind of go through and find like album sales for each album and try to add it up. So there's not a ton of information out there. As like when I was doing research for, you know, bands like Metallica and Megadeth, you know, there's a ton. This was a little limited. So Holy Land is their second album, which was released in March of 1996. It's a concept album about the Brazilian land and the time that it was discovered. The album features Andre Matos on vocals, who is their main vocalist throughout most of the albums, but he sadly passed away within the last few years, actually. You have Kiko Lorio on lead guitar, who now plays for Megadeth. Rafael Bittencourt on rhythm guitars, Luis Mariucci on bass, and Ricardo Confessori on drums.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, just right off the top, before we get into the songs themselves, you know, I didn't know what to expect from this album, but man, right away, and I feel like this is where we're gonna agree a lot. The first half of this record just kind of punches you in the face. And
it's never aggressive, you know.
No.
Like when you say punches you in the face, I think it's just by how good it is.
Correct.
But it's just one of those things that we talked, you know, earlier on about power metal. It's not aggressive.
No, this is a very easy listen. The songs are definitely uplifting. You know,
it's very folky.
Yeah. Jason, learning that they were a Brazilian band and learning, like, I didn't realize the concept of the album until after I'd heard it a couple of times, and actually that made me appreciate the record even more.
It made it make sense.
Yes.
I almost thought maybe we should do this exercise and like read about the album
prior
before we listen to it, so we go into it with like a different ear. Because the first time I heard Carolina, and it starts off with this little. There's this Mavericks country band song that starts off like with that little shuffle, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But kind of hearing it from a Brazilian whatever standpoint, it made a little bit more sense.
Yeah, but like the production is excellent throughout.
The
guitar work, the solos, the vocals. Dude, I mean, like, Jason would hate this because it's very, he would not agree, but it's very sing-song. Like if I had, like, I was trying to learn a lot of the lyrics of the song, especially like Silence and Distance.
Yeah. These lyrics aren't on Spotify, right?
Yeah, they are. Some of them are.
Maybe it was just certain songs. I didn't see it pop up on my phone, and I couldn't get it on the actual app here, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I overall, like, I thoroughly enjoyed the record. I mean, do you want to give it my, I gotta let you talk about it first, but do we going to go to Shit-O-Meter right away?
Yeah, let's do that. So hopefully you guys have followed along with us throughout our journey through the American Film Institute's Top 100 list and through some of our Metalheads journey. But we decided a little while back that we needed our own rating system. We like to refer to things on this show as shit, okay?
Yeah.
And basically varying levels of shit. So we decided to create our own proprietary rating system called the Shit-O-Meter. And the name of the game here is you want to get the lowest score possible. You want to get a 0, okay?
Yeah.
You want to be master of puppets. Okay?
Yeah.
What you don't want to be is a little album called Risk by Megadeth, which scored a 95. I don't want to give it away if you're going to go back and listen to our Megadeth pods, but it scored a 95 from me, okay? You don't want to be in that section. You want to be anything 50 or below. 50 down to 0 is at least some variation of a recommend from us. So, Dave, go ahead and give us your Shit-O-Meter here for the album.
My Shit-O-Meter score is a very, very respectable, because, like I said, anything 50 or less is considered a recommend. So some people might consider this low, but this is a very good score. I am giving it a 32.
That is a good score, Dave. I'm going with a 38. So we're right there in the same boat. I think when we start talking about these songs here in a second, I think there's a clear definition in what songs are the best songs on the album. And then the other songs are not bad by any means. There's a drop-off from me for sure.
I agree. So we're doing this, I guess, like we'll probably mention this a lot on their first time, and we'll probably not mention this too much in future reviews, but we're kind of do this a little bit different. So we kind of chose our top 5 songs. Now, I should say, if we end up liking this method, then we might have to
we might
hijack it for the main pod. But we ended up choosing our top 5 songs, and we were required to put them in order. So we'll go over. We'll tell each other what our top 5 are, which we have not disclosed prior to this, and then we'll talk about we'll cherry pick and talk about our favorite songs. So I'm going in. I'll go first. My number 5 is Zito or Zito.
All
right. Do you want to go with your number 5? We don't want to alternate here.
Yeah, we can do that. So my number 5 is Make Believe.
Okay, it did not make my list. I will tell you. My number 4 is The Shaman.
Oh, interesting. My number 4 is Carolina 4.
Okay. Now my number 3 is Silence and Distance.
My number 3 is Zito.
Okay. My number 2 is Nothing to Say.
My number 2 is also Nothing to Say.
My number 1 is Carolina 4.
My number 1 is Silence and Distance.
Okay. So you had Make Believe and I had The Shaman. That was our differences there. But yeah. You were right, Josh. You predicted we would have 4 out of 5 because you felt like the top songs were clearly the top songs, and I was concerned we were going to have more different songs, but really, yeah, we had the same 5, just in different we had 4 of the same, just in different orders.
Yeah. So what is it about for you? What was it about? I'm sure we're saying this wrong, but what is it about Zito that put it on your list?
Dude, it's just a super fast song. For the most part, it's double bass, blistering guitars, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. I just that's one of the things that really stood out for me.
It's the best guitar solo on the album for me by far. I mean, Kiko is fucking cooking on this song.
Yeah.
And you know, this can be said about every song. The vocal melody is really, really good. This song actually moved the most for me. This song was my number my number 5 song, and it moved up to my number 3 song after a couple more listens today. Yeah. So this song was the biggest grower for me, for sure.
Yeah, so like not counting the opening track, which is like not a real track, like there wasn't really a song that was gonna break with the first 3 songs on the record. I think the first like 3 real songs on the record being Nothing to Say, Silence the Distance, and Carolina. Like those 3 songs just like are clear, like in my opinion, are clearly the top 3 songs.
Yeah.
And you said for a while those were your top 3.
Carolina. We'll talk about Carolina last because I think that one deserves to go last, even though it was my 4th song. I still think it deserves to go last here on the conversation. I want to talk about Silence and Distance.
I love that song.
This ended up being my number 1 song, and for a while, Nothing to Say was the number 1 song for me.
Yeah,
and I kept going back to Silence and Distance a couple more times, and it's Nothing to Say has different parts, but it's very similar throughout the song. You know, there's not a ton of like change in the in like the style of it, right? Silence and Distance starts off with a minute and a half of like piano, nice singing, and then it goes into this fucking just cool little tasty riff. It's got some fucking horns behind it that are really cool.
Silence and Distance. Okay, so Nothing to Say is much more of a I guess we can just talk about these two as a pair, right? We'll just go
that's fine.
So Nothing to Say for me is like the quintessential opening, like power metal opening track, right? Like it goes right in. And look, the song does not like cool riff. And then the like very, I'm not gonna sing it here obviously, but very easy sing along chorus, very upbeat, up tempo song. I
think that would have been, they didn't have a single listed, but I think that definitely would have been the single.
Yeah, it definitely had single, like it's a long song, so like it had to have been probably shortened, especially in '96. But it screamed single for me. But dude, Silence and Distance, like that Silence and Distance, like dude, that opening, it lulls you, and then then the song kicks off, and then dude, it closes with the slow part again, and dude, it's so good. And it actually bleeds really well into Carolina, like because Carolina starts off with like now I realize like the very like
the shuffling drums,
the kind of like the tribal influences there. Dude, I like I had Silence and Distance ahead of Nothing to Say for a while, and I just put Nothing to Say above it simply for the fact that it's like if I could only show someone one song from the record, like it probably, even though I have Carolina as my favorite song, I would probably show
you wouldn't show that.
No, I would show them Nothing to Say first, and be like, hey, do you like this song? If yes, okay, here's the rest of the album, and then I would give them more backstory. But I think, and that's kind of ultimately why I picked Nothing to Say over Silence and Distance, even though I kind of agree with you. Like personally, I think Silence and Distance might be a stronger song. It's definitely more unique.
Also, cool solos on that song with, I mean, some really good harmony parts on Silence and Distance. And then I noted in here that the use of keyboards and Nothing to Say, I thought was real nice. In the center section, like you get a very keyboard-driven moment, and it's cool.
Yeah.
But I think the real epic on the album obviously is Carolina.
Absolutely.
So what made this your favorite song, Dave?
Dude, and I will tell you, it was not. So my first pass on the album, this wasn't in my top 5.
Really?
It was not. It was like number 6. Like it was not in the mix. But I mentioned to you before, like this album for me has kind of been a grower in the sense.
Yeah.
And like, dude, I don't know what it was. Like, so like I said, first time listening to it, I was like, man, 10 minutes. I don't know. I might have to skip this on future listens. But dude, like I think I listened to this record like 4 or 5 times, and every time it got to Carolina, I was like, oh shit, here we go. Let's do it. Like I couldn't skip it. Even though it's super long. And then like I said, by the 4th or 5th listen through to the album, like, dude, I was looking forward to this song. And dude, the song is so versatile because it's got so much to it, right? There's like slower mid-tempo parts, there's fast parts, there's a lot of tribal, like folk driven parts to it. And dude, the guitar work,
it has probably the second best guitar solo on the album.
Yeah,
it was the best until I got to fucking Zyto, and then I was like, oh shit. But
like,
it's really good.
Carolina, like, this song actually sounds like a progressive metal song. Like, doesn't even really sound like a power metal song to me. Like, this is like some shit Dream Theater would do. For me, I thought
about that a couple of times when I was listening to it.
So yeah, I for me, that's my favorite.
Yeah, it's just, I think this song is just a fucking vibe, man. There's so many moments in the song. It's so, like, you could probably cut this song into 3 different songs at least. Not just from a time standpoint, but just like the actual riffs and the different styles and stuff.
Yeah.
Really neat the way it's all put together. I'm glad I listened to the song a couple times because at first I was like, oh yeah, Carolina. And then you hear Carolina. I was like, oh, okay. Let me make sure I say it right.
Yeah. I just want to spend a minute talking about the song that made my list and didn't make yours. That would be the Shaman. I'm surprised you didn't have that song. It's another fast song on the record. More tribal drumming. I just thought it's a really good song. Like, I put that song in Zito or Zito. I'm not sure on the pronunciations.
Yeah.
I put those 2 songs like right there. Like, I could have flipped them. Like, Zito could have been 4 and Shaman could have been 5. Like, it could have gone either way. Like, but they're both like good, fast songs, very power metal, quintessential power metal there.
Yeah, for me, Make Believe, I mean, just a great slow jam. The vocal melodies, I mean, the vocals are really what drive this song for me.
It's a good song.
And there's this really cool moment that I think kind of sealed the deal for me around the 4.5 minute mark, where you're getting this battle going back and forth between like this really cool, like, high vocal pattern and the guitar solo. And they're going back and forth. And I don't know, that was like, you don't get that a lot. And yeah. I just thought that was just something that was really neat. And I think that's really what kind of sealed the deal and got it on the list for me.
Yeah. So, not to belabor the point too much, I do want to say the reason why this record kind of didn't get into the 20s and greater for me is the songs that I didn't name are not. There's no bad songs from the record, right? But like the opening, the opening track that's really a non-track, and then the closing song, Lullaby for Lucifer, like the song title sounded really good, and then the song is just kind of this, I
have that as an honorable mention song for me. I thought that was a good song as well. It just look, it's nothing, but it just sounds cool. Yeah. The song sounds good.
Holy Land, the title track is it's not power metal at all. It's a full on ballad. Piano and there's like flute and there's a bunch of different stuff. Like, it's not a bad song. And I'm not a fan of the singing in the song either very much. I don't know. It's not a very strong title track for me.
Yeah, but I mean, look, between a 32 and a 38, by my quick math, that means this album will get a 35, which is absolutely a recommend on our part. Like, anybody that's curious about power metal, I would absolutely recommend this album. Great album, 100%. Fucking great way to start the list here for us. So hey, hopefully you guys like this content here, and you want to kind of follow along with us here. I think we're going to try and do this weekly, right?
I think that is the plan. We're gonna have a shot at doing this weekly. I think we're gonna limit it to YouTube only for now. Yeah. See the reception of it. But the next album, for those keeping score, if you want to listen along with us, We'll be listening to it this week. It's Halloween's debut album, Walls of Jericho. So that's number 29 on our list. So we'll be listening to that all week. And I guess if that's it, I guess check us out. Check us out next week.
All right. Live long and prosper.
Take it easy, everybody.